Welcome to Collector Chronicles. We got a button video, a whole lot of button videos. So yeah, I got this bag right here of buttons for $100, and I couldn't really tell exactly what was all in it, which is a lot of times the case. I got this on eBay, and you can go on eBay and find groups of stuff, buttons or whatever, and if you know what you're looking at, you can get some really good deals. There's a drawback, two drawbacks to this actually. One being, it takes a long time to go through all those listings, and secondly, it's an excellent way to end up with a whole bunch of buttons that you don't really want. But we're going to go through this really quick, and there's actually some pretty good stuff in here, and you might learn a few things or get an idea of what's out there if you're a collector. So first off, I can see this is a pretty good group, a typical mixture of US military buttons. I don't really see too many civilian or blazer junk buttons in here. It looks like they're mainly actually government issue buttons dating back to the Civil War even. So you got a lot of Marine Corps buttons. These are for a Marine Corps trench coat or greatcoat. Those are probably World War I era. Now in World War I, they had that darkening on them, that burnishing. But Marine Corps had that also after the war. The Marine Corps kind of kept that look with kind of like a pine green color uniform with the darkened buttons. So there's a U.S. Army trench coat button. Now that would be before World War I because it doesn't have the lines on the back. See, they came in three sizes. They came in trench coat size, regular jacket size, Marine Corps, and then they had like the little size for like the epaulets and everything. Which, yeah, like that. So anyway, there's that. These plastic ones right here are World War II trench coat buttons. The wool overcoat, which I wear in the wintertime myself. World War II. When they had those trench coats, when they came out with this style Eagle button in 1902, they had it alongside ones that were like that, brass, gilt-plated for like a blue trench coat. They still had blue wool uniforms in 1902. They were kind of changing things around a lot. Okay, so here's some Civil War buttons. Original Civil War buttons. Waterbury Button Company. It's regular Yankee private or whatever button. This one's an officer button. So it's like got an eye in the shield for infantry. And that is marked Mincer, Philadelphia. So that's a pretty good one right there. We got here. That's actually a little bit before the Civil War. Artillery, A for artillery, and that's an officer button right there. Maybe enlisted men. It came out with, this would have been like around 1850, 1851, that time period. What we got here? NYC, New York Central, conductor button, railroad. That's pretty cool. That's some nice gold plating there. There's a little Union Civil War button, nice and dirty. Okay, there's another one. Even though these are all basically the same button, these Union ones, they come in a large variety of different subtle differences in them. There were so many soldiers that were in the war that they had a lot of people firing up the presses, making the buttons, and a lot of variations resulted. Okay, so there's a World War II or World War I trench coat button, but it's actually like an oilcloth cover over like tin or something. So that was kind of a, you won't find these dug up. When these are in the ground, they're going to be pretty much deteriorated to nothing. So yeah, there's a Navy, that could be more modern, World War II. You run into those a lot. They're not really valuable. Unless you have a coat, you need them. They're pretty much a dime a dozen. Another Navy variant that's like darkened. I don't really know too much about Navy buttons or Marine buttons for that matter. But yeah, some of these are like a plastic, like they could be a bluish or olive green. Some of them were for like women in the Marines. They had their own kind of uniforms that were different cut to them. And I think they had unique buttons. There's a Marine Corps, maybe World War II trench coat, maybe 50s, I don't know. U.S. Air Force, silver plated, you run into those a lot. Those are all pretty much run-of-the-mill. that if you buy these groups of buttons like this, you're going to end up with a ton of those kind of modern military buttons. And I'm thinking of a way I can market and sell them to move them, or I might just donate them somewhere because I really don't need them all. These right here are Indian Wars time period. So the time of like General Custer, 1870s, when they were out west fighting the Indians. Also Spanish-American War, 1898. So they had like a really peculiar looking eagle. It's really highly raised. It's actually a Prussian style eagle. The Franco-Prussian wars were going on in Europe and everybody was patterning their uniforms after the Prussian look. Okay, this one right here looks like a Civil War greatcoat button. A little bit larger than a regular, you know, coat button. But this one is actually a reproduction, a modern one. I can tell because of the back. See, it's kind of chintzy looking. You will have plain backed buttons in the Civil War and other eras, but they won't look like that. They'll look older. It's kind of hard to explain. And pretty much always have a back mark, but that just looks, you know, modern. So yeah, you get a feel for these after a while. So these are floating around out there. Reenactors can use them, and that way if you lose a button, you're not crying over it. That's an old Marine Corps button, probably 1880s, 1870s. I thought there was some, okay, U.S. Maritime Service, some type of government agencies get mixed in there. There is a probably not real or not regulation. Looks kind of like a Civil War or Indian War button, but it's some kind of goofy thing. There's a state seal button. These are pretty valuable sometimes. See how that's got like a back mark on there? Pettibone Manufacturing Company, Cincinnati. Most of these are going to be like 1870s, but there are some Civil War ones, and there's some Civil War ones, especially if they're from the South and the Confederacy, they can get up to like thousands of dollar range. There's a nice fire department. ebayreseller, New York. I've never seen that back mark. That's kind of interesting. I mean, it's not really that valuable, but I might hang on to that. That's probably at the top's like 10 bucks. So yeah, there's some good ones in here. A lot of stuff that you pretty much run into a lot. If I had to go through all these and pick out, there's a military academy. I'd say I did okay, $100 on this. There's a few that I can make that back with. This one's at least a $30 or $40 button right there. There's probably a couple more in here. Home Mission, I don't know what that is. Some of these are stuff you could research. It's the Women's WAC, Women's Army Corps, World War II, the women's branch. So yeah, I think I'm not going to be here all day with this, but I thought there was some pretty good. Anyway, so that looks like that's about it for this video. There was another one in here that I saw that was older. Anyway, you get the idea. So there's a little crash course on the buttons. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.